My name is Stephanie Linkos. I'm one of the team leads here at PATH. I work with the Relentless Peer-to-Peer Mentoring Program for high school students. It's a year-long mentoring program where we use juniors and seniors to mentor the freshmen. And we've been running this program for about 5 years now. I'm here as your host. We're going to do Dr. McGee is going to do his presentation, and then we'll have a Q&A, and we should be wrapping up around 12:30 today. I will be in the backgrounds, but if you need anything, I am here. You can put your questions in the chat, and then Dr. McGee, you'll just need to let me know when you want me to pull up the video for you today.
I will do that. Thank you so
All
much.
right. I'm going to turn things over to Dr. McGee, let him introduce himself and his role and why he is here today. And then the floor is yours, sir.
So we can go ahead and clear this screen. You guys should have seen the objectives. I'll go over it again right before I get into the presentation. So if you want to clear that, and I'll just give it a start. I'll let you see my face. I'm Mike McGee. How you guys doing? Thank you for joining us. I gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but as you can see, bullying is a huge problem, and is now worse now more than ever, because now these kids don't just get into a fight now, right? It escalates, and now with the evolution of guns being so prevalent, people are at risk of being shot or turning into a mass shooter at any given time just from being bullied. You've heard documents in history, and most recent, where a shooter had a history of being bullied and decided to retaliate one day with their dad's AK. So it's a problem, and it is real. Some of you guys probably wonder, why is a doctor gonna educate me on bullying or any of this space that we're in right now? Well, reality is I'm an ER doc, and so I see a lot. I see a lot of violence. I see a lot of youth coming in with physical injuries from being abused or bullied, and I see a lot of retaliation, and I do a lot of work in that space. And so let's get into that. I know we have until 12:30, but just historically, I grew up in Gary, Indiana. I grew up in a single parent family. My dad was there, but he and my mom never married. And so it's really difficult when a young man doesn't have their dad to be there in the discipline. And we sometimes get headstrong and try to think we're the man in the house and get into trouble. And I did that. I used to get into a lot of trouble. I used to fight a lot. But the reality is, even back then, I was always altruistic. I cared about others. And so I get in a fight with the bullies who were bullying the younger kids because for me having to stay at my grandmother's house, I was around a bunch of my cousins who didn't necessarily like me, who bullied me, but I learned how to fight. And so I use my skills to protect others. And as I get older, I boxed and did martial arts and learned more discipline. Through that, I've also had some encounters with violence, with fights, and even being shot at 3 times in my life. But that's another whole story. I won't really get into all of that. But I do want to go ahead and start with my presentation and get into some things that we're doing before I get into the oversight on bullying. Let's see. I think I put up the right PowerPoint. I have like 3 of them open, so let's see. All right, here we go. So let me expand this for you. You guys should all see a white screen. All right, so this is me. I'm an ER doc. As I said, I'm a partner with Vituity, which is a large ER group. I'm also the CEO of urgent care in Chicago on the South Side. But most importantly, I'm the chair of 3 major organizations that deal with violence prevention. One of them is RECENT, which is the National Medical Association, which are all the Black and brown physicians all over the country. So I'm actually coming up with programming for youth groups that deal with youth with violence. And coming up with ideas and action plans. And I'm also the founder of POP, which is my own nonprofit that I have here in Northwest Indiana, Chicago. Just moving forward, this is POP. Our slogan is not one more life, one more day. I'm going to tell you a little bit about POP and what we do and let you understand the relevance of why I feel that I am sort of an expert on bullying and violence in our youth. So we'll get to that, and I'll tell you the why. And so our slogan is not one more life, one more day, and that's just not from violence, but also from anything that can cause someone to die, suicide, unintentional injuries, drug overdose, anything that can happen that can kill a youth. We practice not one more life, one more day, and want our youth to recognize that as well. And so just moving on, we have been going out just to do things with stopping the violence. My partner is Dr. Rutland, and we joined together to form POP, which means Project Outreach and Prevention. This is an anti-violence prevention initiative. We're 501c3, and our mission is to prevent and alleviate youth violence, but also inspire healthy lifestyles and positive behaviors, but also encourage accessible career opportunities. And we started out with a simple 5K walk run back in 2016, and we were able to raise some funds. We had youth out, and we were marching for violence prevention. We would have entertainment by our youth, and it'll be a fun event. The main goals of POP are four pillars. One is violence awareness, where we go out and talk to youth about the statistics pertaining to violence, letting them know how significant it is, how much of an epidemic it is. We also try to get youth to do self-practice and self-awareness by joining a group called SAVE, which is free and online. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then also we have a health enrichment, just from me being a young Black male who did not know how to get into medical school. I have a program where we try to entice underrepresented minorities from 9th to 12th to go into medical school, nursing school, dental school, but now we also just added law. And then most importantly, and the one that was the most evasive, was intervention and healing. That usually takes money. We were fortunate enough to partner with PATH a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, and get a grant with the Department of Justice. And so now we have our Project Slate, which is saving lives and empowering youth. Just to go a little bit about that, this is our logo with POP and PATH. This is a very busy brochure, and I'll just explain the grant. The grant is basically in 4 cities: Gary, Maryville, East Chicago, Hammond, and we work with 6 different schools, and we teach them 2 best practices. One is the Bofkin's life skills, where they learn self-management, how to reduce stress, how to manage anger, how to resolve conflict, but also social skills and also drug resistance skills. And then we also have SAVE, which is kind of like the student peer-led program where students can practice this at home. They don't need to have a teacher or educator. They can actually go online and figure out how this is done. In addition to that, we do other things like support groups for kids who are really high risk, when they have a psychologist that goes to their schools at Westside and Maryville and soon to be Hammond, as well as East Chicago Central. We also practice a high risk program that we just created, and I'll tell you about a little bit later. And we believe in community policing and partnering with the police on everything. We also want youth to know that the police care about you. And so we try to really encourage that early. We have multiple different events like Safe Schools Week, which is the 3rd week in October, the last week in April, which is National Youth Violence Prevention Week, where we go and we elevate our youth and we let them know we care about them and love them. And most importantly, something that we created innovatively, which was this little QR code. And this is something you might want to take a quick picture of. This is our Crisis Connect. As an ER doc, when patients came into my ER, they may say a 15-year-old who broke up with a boyfriend, now wants to kill herself, but we know she really don't want to kill herself. So we're going to let her go. That's about 95% of the time. And if they have not done anything and they don't have any plan, they get discharged. The problem with that is when they get discharged, I didn't have any resources. I didn't know what to tell them. Hey, if you're in distress 2 nights from now, call this number. And so I went and searched different youth organizations in Northwest Indiana, as well as Chicago, and came up with a list of crisis contacts. This is mental health, and there are about 4 different sites. This is bullying. There are 3 sites. This is domestic violence, shelters. This is drug abuse. This is LGBT survivors. This is teen parenting. And we made this not only for Northwest Indiana, but also Chicago. And we put it on a little business card with the QR code. And on the back of that business card is principles to conflict resolution. So we got that. We made about 5,000 for Northwest Indiana, which we distributed at every chance we can. So feel free to take a picture of this for any youth you come in contact with. So this is the goal of Project SLAY, which is to decrease juvenile delinquency, violence, bullying, fights, and school gang involvement, but also increase their social-emotional learning, positive mental health, increase their development in school performance, but also improve relationship with the law, and then also give them some career opportunities. That little QR code down here is if any youth who has this brochure can now sign up and join SAVE, where we now will engage them twice a month and do planning for events that we'll have come into their schools. So we let them take some ownership in planning things to be better stewards in preventing violence in their schools and communities. And so moving forward, POP partner with everyone, from schools, high schools, junior high, elementary, to also all schools in Northwest Indiana and Chicago, but then the Drug Free Coalition, PATH, Lake County Juvenile Detention Center, the police departments, the radio stations, Edgewater. So we do a lot of good things. And these are typically our target population, not only the kids in schools, but also the kids who are in alternative programs and kids who are in Lake County Detention Center, which we have a robust program going on now that's actually online that teaches them how to do Bofkins. So it's very worthwhile and fruitful. This is several years ago when I first went into the Juvenile Detention Center, and I learned early on, you can't forget about the youth who are really at risk, who've made mistakes in their life, because that's the opportunity where they're going to listen the hardest and the most when they're actually in a crisis situation and in lockdown and in a institution. So you go in and you try to get them to change their lives and their behavior. Usually they're listening. And we also, again, would try to get young minority students to choose careers in medicine. And then this is them touring our ER and doing things with us. We also have a summer ACE prep program where students will now go to IU, Purdue, and then spend a day at Methodist where they're going through the different departments. They also do some clinical rounds at some community health centers and then shadow some docs. And then we would have a scholarship brunch at the Chateau or wherever we were. These are a group of kids who graduated with us, who went on to bigger and better careers. We teach them hands-on CPR and stop the bleed. We teach them how to suture. That's my partner, Dr. Rutland. And this is at our scholarship banquet. We got away from this during COVID, and now we're back on track to do these same things. This is Safe Schools Week, as I mentioned. This is through the grant. This is with PATH and the Department of Justice. This was our first Safe Schools rally that we did last year at Westside. We had a game. We talked about the youth had a blood donor drive because there's a shortage of blood, and they organized it themselves. And we just assisted. We also advertised our retirement of firearms. They had a gun turn-in program in all the 4 different municipalities with East Chicago, Gary, Hammond, and Maryville. And people came and turned guns in, and we had raffles for prizes. So it was fruitful. This is the day of the rally that we had at Westside. This is just the first hour, which was about 200 freshmen. We did it for every class, and there was about 800 to 1,000 youth who saw this. But they also saw Officer Cannon, who's affiliated with the ATF. He talked about, hey, what if you find a gun in the alley? What do you do? What if you find a gun in the couch? What do you do? And that is, don't look at it, don't play with it, don't point it, and tell somebody. So a lot of you don't know what to do when they have a gun. They look at it as being a gold bar. They excited, they want to play with it, and then an accident happens. This is well documented throughout our history and even very recent. So he was there. He even talked about the repercussions of if you have a gun charge. Very fruitful, for especially now that we in a state where you can be 18 and have a firearm and don't even have any training for that firearm. This is just showing you the Stop the Bleed that we had youth out of those different classes to go and learn how to stop the bleed. And this is afterwards, where we now had some athletes who were our SAVE ambassadors, who were very popular, who now went on their school radio show. And we talked about what they had just visualized. We talked about the importance of being in an organization like SAVE, where you take ownership for your actions and you try to prevent bullying and fighting senseless from ridiculous reasons why you fight. So it was very good. It was on every radio station for Gary schools, even elementary and high school and junior, and parents found out about it as well. And this is our orange flyer that we gave out to every kid to take home to parents to say, hey, mom, dad, go turn your gun in on October 28th and 29th. And this is just showing you what we just did. This was just recently for Safe Schools Week this year. We had peace activist Andrew Holmes, who's from Chicago. If you guys have seen any news, you will see this guy because he's almost at every murder, and somehow the media loves him. And he talks about finding the shooter and let's not do these silly things. And now he has a gun safe storage program where we bring locks out. And so we're going to be working with him more in the future. This is just showing you the kids holding up our Project Slay shirts. This is just showing you the multitude of kids. We had 300 of them from multiple different schools in Northwest Indiana. We had their attention, they were engaged, and they listened. And this is just showing you, hey, we made the newspaper in the Times. So the Times was basically promoting positive media, which a lot of our youth don't get to see. We got to have more positivity for youth to feel worthy and to feel that they're loved. And that's what we try to do with our grant and the things we do at POP. Project Outreach Prevention. These are strategies for those of you who are educators out there. These are things that I found through my research that can prevent violence in your school. One is most schools do punitive approaches, where students may be involved in a slightly minor conflict, where they're now in detention, they're expelled, they go to court, and they get a name, they get a record, which follows them, and it perpetuates the situation and makes it bad for that kid who now has that label. And they don't have restorative justice programs. But what they found is most programs in schools that do teach conflict resolution skills often are overlooked, but are very successful in preventing bullying and obtaining school safety. We should do more of that. In fact, conflict resolution skills should be a part of schools' curriculum. You know, more conflict resolution results in a decrease in violence, an improvement in the classroom. You get enhanced social and emotional development. The kids actually can study instead of having fear that the bully's gonna bully them every day. I don't know if you've ever been bullied, but you think about it when you're about to encounter it. And for someone who was bullied when I was younger, it's hard to sleep at night. It's hard to concentrate and focus when you know you're going to school and you run into Big John, who's the biggest kid in class, who don't like you. So it's a problem. And so we got to do things about it. And these are the 8 principles of conflict resolution skills. This is the card that I made up for youth to now have all these principles lined out. First thing is they got to think before they react. A lot of kids have knee-jerk reactions and they do things that they shouldn't be doing and they react and think about it later. And this is just going down. And I like the last one, which is focus on your future. I added your in there because now you can be shot. Because if you do something, you piss somebody off, these kids now have a low tolerance to go grab their mom's gun and bust a cap. And that's where we are. And that's our reality, which is so sad. It's not just in urban environments, it's everywhere. And so we got to be cognizant of that. Social emotional learning. Well, we hear a lot about it. What about it? What does it mean? It's a philosophy where you help students learn to comprehend their emotions. A lot of these kids are running around and they're super sensitive and they act out and they get triggered easily. Well, if they understood their emotions, they would know what triggers them, and they would know to try to, count to 6 before you react. We also want them to feel their emotions and then also show empathy. Every person you encounter is not like a video game where you can shoot them or be mean to them or do violent acts to them and they okay. So we want them to recognize, hey, Johnny may have lost his mother today to COVID, and you making mother jokes. So you just want kids to recognize you have some role in preventing the things that can occur. And this just shows you what SEL is. It's just self-awareness again. It's making responsible decisions. It's building better relationships with the guy who used to be your enemy in school. Y'all can maybe fight over something that's been stupid for a long time. It's social awareness by showing, hey, if you show your bully, man, you care, because everybody knows his brother just got killed on Friday, go to him and just say, hey, brother, I'm sorry about your brother. Okay, I'm here for you. And that'll be a lasting friendship that kids could would never have had if they hadn't learned empathy. And then self-management. How do you manage your emotions so that you don't go off on the deep end? The problem is this. What are the barriers? It's a lot of them. Every school with resources should have SEL. But the problem is the schools that need it the most don't have the resources. These teachers are having competing demands. They have to, look at kids as having, makeup classes or mobile phones. You're trying to get them to not do those things. They don't have a lot of support. They have insufficient accountability. They have lack of cultural development in terms of even learning or knowing about SEL. And then what about the high teacher turnover and the shortage of teachers? How's a teacher going to now have to teach SEL as well? And then parents are not necessarily engaged. And then these kids go home and they're in the same situation at home. Well, that's the beauty of SAVE, is that it does kind of have the students take ownership and learn these SEL techniques themselves. So it essentially helps the schools so that if they don't have an SEL teacher or instructor, the kids can take it upon themselves. And you can have a group of kids in the SAVE club led by one gym teacher. And you can have that build up to where now you essentially have one gym teacher who's an SEL instructor who's working with these youth who works with POP. And that's the concept. Let's switch for a minute. What about the kids who's doing the bullying? What about the kids who are the ones that all the kids are scared of? These are the kids who, if you want to do something in violence prevention, they may be the ones that want to beat you up because you're doing something in violence prevention. That's what I found. A lot of these kids don't even want to take ownership and be leaders in their school because they're scared of the influencers, I will call them. These are the kids that everybody know will kick your butt in a minute. And also they may have a gun. Well, POP has created a Project Outreach Prevention high-risk outreach program. And this was created for this purpose, to provide an outlet for youth at risk for gang involvements, because they're glorified by it, violent acts, gun possession, recidivism. They've already gotten in trouble numerous times. We want them to be able to interact with positive role models and learn positive youth development, such as conflict resolution. But they also need to learn the factors that lead to violence and how to cope with it and the consequences of their actions. And then as well as, what about those kids who've seen their brother get shot? What about mental health wellness for them? So we also focus on that. And then again, we want to increase their social emotional learning and encourage them to get resources like what I showed you a little bit earlier. But then we also want them to build a relationship with law enforcement and then to learn skills that can save a life, such as stop the bleeding hands only. Well, we created that program here at POP. And this is a little bit about it. It's a 10-week program. We are in our pilot study right now, and the youth we have range from age 12 to 18. Two of them are from East Chicago, one's from Maryville, the rest are from Gary. They're right now on probation for a year. If they successfully complete our program, then they will get off probation early. So it's almost a form of criminal justice reform. We are doing exceptionally well with this program. And after this, we plan to go to the following schools: Westside, Hammett's Alternative School, and East Chicago Central, where now, instead of those kids who I mentioned earlier who are getting expelled for a fight, who may have popped off on a teacher, who's constantly bullying or being a problem, they now will have to do our 10-week program that we'll have set up in a place near them, near their school. They won't have to go to juvenile detention center like these other young men, but they'll have to do those things. And so this is essentially what our outcome we hope to have, is that, number one, they will decrease delinquency going into the LCJC, having guns, crime, violence, gangs, and recidivism, but also increase their conflict resolution skills, their knowledge about coping with trauma, their SEL, their positive mental health. We want to get them to trust the police more. We also want them to know and talk to their parents and give them information on their parents storing their guns. Because from my experiences, from the youth that I've interacted with, they're getting their guns from home or from a close family friend. And so this is just showing you the outline of the 10-week program. And I know it's long, but I've partnered with my colleagues from University of Chicago. They have a trap violence program that they have speakers who specialize in structural violence. Like, how did this all begin? somebody who deals with healing hurt people, where they talk about trauma-informed care and PTSD, and then how not to retaliate. We have violence recovery experts who come from Chicago, who are there at every scene in the community, interrupting violence when it happens and trying to prevent families from going and retaliating. We have all these speakers have come and they've been videotaped so that now we can reciprocate this in our next cohort, which starts in January. And just looking at site visits, we took some site visits, some examples from a program in Indianapolis where they take kids to the penitentiary, to the morgue, and to the ER. So we're going to do that. This upcoming Sunday, we'll be at the morgue and then at the ER. And then we also want them to become credible messengers. These kids are the best tools to prevent violence in youth who are impressed by that lifestyle. And they let them know, hey, it ain't all what y'all think it is. And so they're there to give messaging. And then they also get to attend our POP events. And so this is just showing you what's coming up in November 4th. We're doing a police versus fire. At the end of every quarter, we're gonna have someone to come and talk about violence prevention and bullying, as well as parents letting them know they need to store their guns. Andrew Holmes is coming back out. Eddie Melton is going to be there. The chief of police of Gary is going to be there. And so we're going to really target these youth and parents to do the right things. We also having a gun turn-in program on November 6th, 17th, and 18th, where we now are going to be plugging this up at this game and really promoting it on media to get parents to now come and bring their guns and turn their guns in. And this is a Stop the Bleed challenge, where we now have youth to go on and watch a quick 11-minute video and learn virtually how to stop the bleed. We just extended it. It was going to end today, and we're extending it until December. So if you guys have any kids who want to be in it, you can easily have this flyer. Path has sent it out. You go on and go to the video, and then they can submit a video and win money. This is my high outreach program. These are the youth. There are 9 of them. The youngest are 12. This young man. This is them very engaged in what we're doing. This is us teaching them how to stop the bleed. And this is them doing their community service at our program doing Safe Schools Week, where they took enjoyment with giving kids gifts and being involved and even being on our panel discussion. So it's very fruitful. And they made the front page. This is Jerron. He's a huge success story. He was on the front page of the Times on Monday. And we had other pictures of what we were doing, all on the Sun Times. All on the Northwest Indiana Times. Overall, this is the final slide for this before I switch to bullying. We want to change the culture. We got to, right? Because we are past, we're beyond the ability to stop guns. We now have to deal with guns and promote safety and education. But we also want to change the behavior of our youth and get them to practice nonviolence and tolerance and forgiveness. We want to consider school curriculum changes and have more conflict resolution and SEL and talk about the pitfalls of social media and even racial inequality. But also, we got to have more restorative justice instead of punishment. And we may need to consider not having police in schools, having trained policemen or security guards trained in conflict resolution. And so switching over, we're going to be going over the impact of bullying. The objectives are to learn about bullying as well as the effects and consequences, to talk about tips for preventing bullying in schools, to provide you, the educators, the parents, and students with resource to address bullying, like what I just showed you that you should have taken a picture of, to address all crises, not just bullying, but suicide and domestic abuse and violence and LGBT issues and teen pregnancy. And then also recognize the importance of learning life-saving procedures using virtual tools. Easy, can reach a lot of people. And so with that said and done, this is our Facebook page. We'll take questions later. I'm going to stop for a minute, then I'm going to switch over to my slide for bullying, and then we'll go from there. We're making good time, so let's get it going. Here we go. So this is something that I put together with a mentee from who's now at U of I Medical School. He's from Howard, and we put this together as a toolkit for violence prevention. I'm sorry, for bullying for our youth. I'm just trying to figure out how to expand it. Okay, here we go. So ACEP is American College of Emergency Physicians. These are the 40,000 ER docs all over the country. I'm the chair for violence prevention of their DIHE section. And so what is bullying? Well, you all know it's an unwanted aggressive behavior by one group or a group of youth. They're not your brothers, they're not your dating partners, and it's perceived power imbalance. And the problem with this is you do it over and over and over again. It's not just a one-time thing, it's constant. So it's bullying. And bullying can inflict harm and cause physical, psychological, social, or educational harm. As I said before, you can't study if you know you're going to get in your butt kicked tomorrow, right before your test. You can't focus, and a lot of teachers and administrators don't see this. And a lot of times, bullying is not even addressed. These kids don't even tell anybody. And so you don't necessarily know. And then sometimes the correct action is not achieved when they do tell you. Bullying can look like physical, where you're hitting, kicking, verbal, your name calling, and then relational and social, where you're spreading rumors. You know, you're publicly mocking people, and even you're leaving them out. So if you choosing your team to be on the doing gym time, but you always leave Johnny out, Johnny gonna feel, you know, like that he's not important, and that's a form of bullying. Bullying has lasting effects. It's widespread. We hear about it all the time, and it negatively impacts our youth. In fact, 1 out of 5 high school students have reported being bullied on school property. And then 1 out of 6 are being bullied doing cyberbullying. So it's a problem. And again, you may not even know about it. The consequences of this is that it can result in physical injury, either from the kid or from the kid now retaliating against the bully. It can cause distress socially and emotionally. It can cause self-harm. And some of these kids do hurt themselves. It can increase depression, anxieties, low academic achievement, like I said. And you may wonder why Kelly don't want to come to school anymore. Well, Kelly been getting bullied every day after school for a month. So she's tired of it. So figure out why when administrators or whomever want to take drastic action, get to the bottom, line as to what may have occurred. In fact, this is something that a lot of people don't know. Youth who bully others are at increased risk of substance misuse. They have problems with academics. They may experience violence later in adolescence and adulthood. Youth who bully others and who are bullied themselves suffer the most in terms of mental health. So let me reiterate. Bullies who bully others may have been bullied themselves, either at home or by somebody you don't know, and that's why they may be bullying. But yet they are at the most risk for increased mental health and behavioral problems. That's real. A lot of times with race, it's a factor. If you're a white kid at an all-black school, or vice versa, or if you're international and you're at an American school, you may have a speech problem with English. You may get bullied for that. But the group that gets bullied the most are usually Black students. They're disproportionately more bullied than others. About 35% report being bullied or harassed based upon their race, which should not be happening. In regards to LGBT, we all know people say inappropriate words. 70% of LGBT students have been verbally bullied, called names, or threatened in the past because of their sexual orientation. 59% because of gender expression. 28% have been physically bullied, pushed up, or even beat up. And 48% experience cyberbullying as well. And these youth can become victims of homicide as well. And so looking at bullying and cyberbullying, would you believe that 22% of students report they have experienced recent cyberbullying, which is an increase of 17% since before COVID. And we all know that during COVID, these kids was at home on social media, and they were making all kinds of threats. Kids who were not tough in school now suddenly get tough. And so now they back in school in 21, and now everybody's fighting at every school. That has happened. It all became from COVID and the effects of it. And now we know that it's a serious national health issue. Social media has led to online aggression and threats. And then also, and you look at gangs have had fights from threats from gangs and music that you see in Chicago a lot. And it can pose a major risk in the health of adolescents. So you got to curb social media and watch what your kid or teach or your students are doing with social media. Bullying and suicide, it's real. Suicide is a second leading cause of death among individuals 10 to 34, which you already know. It's higher than for adult if you look at the curve in terms of homicides versus suicide, suicide is higher. But now in 2021, 22, homicide is definitely caught up. But this is important right here. So students who experience bullying, they're being bullied, are 1.7 times more likely than to commit suicide. But get this, the kids, the offenders who bully, are 2.1 times more likely to have attempted suicide than those not involved in bullying. So what that says is, if you're a bully, you're more than likely to attempt suicide than the person you're bullying, because you're probably being bullied somewhere else. And 18% of youth report self-harming from being bullied. This is 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 10 boys. So we got to be careful with our young women out here and our young men. Bullying can be prevented. Okay, let's respond quickly. Let's address the situation. The worst thing you can do if a child comes to you or a teacher and say, hey, I'm being bullied, and you don't do nothing, because they will never tell you again. And so we want to reiterate to the class, you don't necessarily have to single anybody out, reiterate that bullying is unacceptable. But then if you can now get these kids to now be involved in a club where the culture changes, the kids will now recognize, hey, you bullying Kelly, or you're bullying Deborah. You got to stop that. And that's even more effective, having the youth stand up. So informing students that bullying is unacceptable, and if they are being bullied, ask them to get help. So work with the whole school system. That's why I got to be something collective, and everybody has to be ready for change. And have some interventional projects. Let's have a contest, which you can get from SAVE. They teach these principles where if your school has a problem with bullying, have a contest where, okay, over the next month, whichever class, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders have the least amount of bullying, you're going to win a pizza party. And we're going to have a DJ and see what happens. I guarantee you have some change and some good positive changes. So work with the community, promote family environments that support health development, provide good education early in life, and strengthen youth skills. Connect youth to adults and activities. The ones that's bullying, make them become, a SAVE ambassador. Okay, you want to be a bully? Well, now you got to go do a report on why bullying is bad and what you're going to do to prevent bullying in the future. Give them something creative as a way to recognize what they're doing instead of suspending them. Give them that opportunity to correct their errors, because they may just not know. This is what they've been used to all their life. Offer mentoring and after-school programs. Create a protective community environment and modify it. And then street outreach. Get those kids who've been bullied, who are now ambassadors, and now go and teach it to junior high schools in your system, in elementary schools. So bullying, again, can be prevented. While more than 1 in 4 children say they have experienced bullying, this is important. Less than 30% will report it. That's a problem. So your daughter is being bullied every day. You don't notice the subtle changes that now she's not laughing, she's not singing in her room. Your son's don't want to go outside and play football. He's just sitting in the room, and now he's eating, and now he's gaining weight. Find out what happened. And I'm talking from true experience, guys. In my 6th grade, I got into a fight at a skating rink. This guy and I got into it. And then I look up, and this is when I lived in Marshalltown. I was going over riding my bike to my grandmother's house. And this kid on a bike with about 6 kids, saw me. And I was running from them on my bike. And they chased me and they caught me. And when they caught me, I got beat up by all of them. And I still held my bike. They didn't take it, but I had all kinds of bruises on my face and everywhere. So I went home to my grandmother's house. And do you know, I did not go back to my house anymore or go outside. So for a whole year, my 6th grade, I was in the house eating, gained a whole bunch of weight, and literally was afraid to go outside. And so it's real. And that's why I started taking martial arts and boxing later, so I could protect myself. And that's another tool for youth who've been bullied. Get them to go take some self-defense courses, not to go and beat anybody up, but have the confidence to tell them, hey, I need y'all to stop bullying me right now. Okay. And so learn how to talk to your kids about it. It took a while for me to tell my mom, hey, you know what? I got jumped by these kids, but my grandmother knew because she saw the bruises on my face. So you got to learn how to do it. Everybody won't have bruises, and they may bruise inside, and you may not know it. And then they may be contemplating hurting themselves. And so just finishing up, here's some more anti-bullying resources. We will have our that little page I showed you to be posted on our website. We're working on that. Here's the Trevor Project again. And of course, the National Suicide Prevention. And you can always refer kids to nationalsave.org. These are just references where a lot of this came from. And I'm going to stop there. Right? 11:46. In 2 minutes, I'm going to show you what SAVE is about. And then we're going to show you a quick 2-minute video. Then I'm going to open it up for questions. Okay? Let's do that. So the reason why I think it's important. Okay, what did I do here? It just keeps happening. Try to close one of these down. What happens when you have too many things up? I think you guys do see the screen, though. I'm not mistaken. Yep, you do, because I'm now on it. So this is Students Against Violence Everywhere. We're tired of thoughts and prayers. It's ridiculous. This is a best practice for preventing violence, bullying, whatever, in your school. And SAVE is not only Students Against Violence Everywhere, but it's a Sandy Hook promise. They combine. Sandy Hook was the Connecticut, where the 22 people got killed from a gunman who had a mental health disorder, who came in with long arms and shot a whole bunch of people. And this is, they partner and they're doing some amazing things. This is a nutshell, summarizes what SAVE is about. Again, it's free, it's peer-to-peer, it's online, and it's best practice. It's led by students for students. Students takes ownership and it provides a blueprint. Their goals are, again, to influence conflict resolution, talk about the effects and consequences of violence. It gives activities and services that students, parents, educators like yourselves can now utilize, and then engages students with meaningful violence prevention efforts within their schools. But it also empowers these youth. They become leaders. They also can talk about this when they go for job interviews, because now violence is everywhere. It's omnipresent. So if you have been a leader to schools, I can tell you, because I've had my mentees tell me, hey, Dr. McGee, at my interview to go into general surgery, all they talked about was me being in your program, because it's a distractor and a needed distractor. And unless these people who have jobs or higher education know that you care about your community and you are active and you're doing social justices and you're a good human. So it's always good. It allows you to learn incentives, like I mentioned earlier, how to decrease fighting with a peace party. Then it also talks about restorative justice and the importance of that. Again, this is our Not One More Life, One More Day. This is a little background history on SAVE. It started in 1989 in North Carolina. Alex Orange was a young man who broke up a fight and got shot and killed. A teacher and a student created SAVE. After 26 years, and this was about 2018 when I created this, they only had 22,000 members and 2,200 chapters, but none were in Northwest Indiana or Chicago. They're in all these different states, but they were not here in Northwest Indiana and Chicago. So we created a whole bunch of youth to be involved with this, but then they graduated, and then COVID hit. So now we're desperately trying to get youth to be involved with SAVE at our 5 or 6 partner schools. So if any of you are from the schools I mentioned earlier, please encourage your youth to join our program. This is Alex Orange, the young man who broke up the fight. Orange is for Alex Orange's name, but also gun violence prevention. And purple means peace and tranquility. And that's their slogan or their logo. This is just in memory of Alex Orange. And these are the Promise Clubs that we're trying to create. This is basically the mission of Sandy Hook Promise: to shape and empower youth to prevent violence in their schools, home, and communities. But also, they have evidence-based proof to know the signs, to tell you when a kid is about to commit suicide because they've been bullied. It tells you what you should do and how to recognize it. It tells you what to do when something is about to happen, because all the kids know. So it will help your school out. And also, this is our Sandy Hook Promise, which focuses on educating students and staff on the warning signs And this is how to take action. This is what we did at our event where we had the students to take the Sandy Hook Promise Pledge. We wanted them to become ambassador at their school where they advocate awareness and fundraise for violence prevention. They have to follow Sandy Hook Promise as well as POP. They have to go on and just simply put their name, their email, and their phone number, and then they have to recite the Promise Pledge. And then every second Thursday of the month, they're going to meet with us. And we're going to have our first meeting next Thursday, not this Thursday. And then we having all these kids to now bring their parents to our November 4th game. And we're going to now talk about violence with a whole bunch of people and also safe gun storage. So I'm done with that. It's at 11:51. I think now Stephanie can show that video and that'll be 2.5 minutes. And then we'll have a whole 30 minutes for questions, guys. So let's hop to it. Want to show that video, please?
Just give me one moment.
Oh, no problem. I'll sing while you're doing that. I am just kidding. I'm super kidding. Thank you guys for joining. Think about your questions you want to ask. I'm not the expert, but I can offer what I know, okay? And then when you ask the question to me, guys, please tell me who you are and what school you're from or what you do or whatever.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with
Sorry,
Strack and Van
there's a
Til to
commercial I
go.
couldn't get rid
Our
of.
to-go
Oh,
service is
it's
easy
okay.
to use, and it can
Is
save
it
you
playing?
time and money.
It's
Once
playing,
your order is in,
But we
our
watching
own Strack and Van
watching
Til
Strack and
team
Van Til.
preps your order with care.
That's a good
Apparently, I
product.
was
Order
trying to
pickup.
get rid of the
Enjoy
commercial.
convenience of
It's
letting
okay. It'll
our
be done
to-go
in
team
9
shop
seconds.
for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at
Strack and Van has some really good chicken, guys.
shop.strackandvantil.com.
You grow up into it. You see it all the time. Like you might go to a gas station, get some gas. Your mom getting
Oh.
gas. You might, see
Oh,
somebody.
this is not what I
Oh,
sent
I
you.
got loud. You might be, trying to sell.
This is, I apologize. This is what was shared with me.
Yeah, that's the video from the Northwest Indiana Times. I sent it to Tara to send to you.
Yeah, this is what she forwarded to me. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Let me see if there
It's
was
in an
more than one.
email. So you know what? There's a link on there to that. But if you click underneath that, there's the video up underneath there. You're right. There was an
I
article.
apologize. Here. Let
It's
me
okay.
fix that.
It's okay. And that should go straight to the video. All right, I'm gonna start back singing again, guys. I'm singing in silence though.
Are you able to share from your screen? Because it says I don't have access.
It did say that? Oh, you know what? Okay, let me try let's see if I can pull that up.
Yeah, it says it's restricted access.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So guys, actually I can answer a question while I'm multitasking. If you wanna ask, anybody wanna ask one question, I'll answer it while I'm doing this.
I was just curious on your bullying definition in that last slideshow,
Uh-huh.
where it said not your siblings and it doesn't mean your partners. I just wondered why it was separated out, because bullying can and does happen at times in relationships. So I was just curious.
I mean, you're right. And that was data that we got from CDC. So maybe because of how they define it, right? So is if you're bullied in a relationship, is that bullying or is that domestic violence?
Both.
Right. So I think they try to loosely keep it under the category of domestic violence. So if you're hitting, someone, which is considered bullying as well, that's considered domestic violence. But yeah, I mean, you raise a good point, and I can't really answer that one.
Okay. Thanks though for your thoughts on it.
No problem. All right.
Do you know, what does domestic violence encompass? It's not just physical abuse. It can also be the other forms of abuse, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Because I was just double checking that I understood what you said, because that's the way we teach it to our students, is there's 6 forms of abuse and that they can happen in any type of relationship.
I agree.
It's not just limited to partners, romantic relationships, things of that nature.
Got it.
I had a question for you, Dr. McMee. First of all, this was great. Thank you. The pilot program that you're about ready to start, that 10-week pilot program, is there room either with that one or future ones for other students who are not part of your targeted schools to participate based on recommendations or relationship we establish with you?
So the problem with that is this is a grant, and I
Mhm.
got to abide by the grant. The funds right now
Okay.
goes for the grant, but our goal is this. That's why we're about to repeat it to see reproducibility, and we want it to become a best practice, just like SAVE and Bofkins.
Mhm.
So we can now get it to a point where, hey, this is something that we can now use as a tool for other youth around the country. We plan on doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, right now we can only use the funds that we're doing because it's a lot of, like I personally have been in every 2.5-hour session, and I have to take one of the kids home every session before I go to my daughter's karate practice. So, some of the kids don't have transportation. So me and Corey, who's another facilitator, we both taking kids home. And then the director of probation take a child home. I spend my own money for food because our grant does not provide funds for food. Because these kids come in, they hungry. I have one kid, and this is no joke here. So the first day we did the survey that we use for the Bofkin kids, and they completed it. And I told them I was gonna have an incentive. I gave each of them $20, right? So do you know the one kid who's in East Chicago, Kevin, the director of probations, took him home and he said, hey, I gotta go to the store. I want to buy some with the money Doc gave me. Do you know this kid went and bought some deodorant? So it was so sad that I had Corey bought him like a 48 pack of deodorant for the next time. That this kid who got $20 was super excited, didn't spend it on candy or himself, or he went and bought a bare necessity, which was deodorant.
I've had students get arrested for shoplifting underwear. So
Exactly. So, I mean, we never know why these kids do what they do. We just know they get thrown into a system that they can't come back from, and then they get that label, and now they deem themselves as worthless. So we need to have these kind of programs. I can tell you this, and I just left the Shoops where we had a meeting with one of the kids who was on the front page because the judge had like 8 people there, including his mom and dad. He's going to be released in 2 weeks, and the judge is trying to get this kid an apartment and a job in construction because that's how much this kid touched his life. And I got up, I didn't go to sleep till 3 a.m. and I got up at 7 and went there at 7:30. And I don't even like getting out of bed that early. And I told him, I said, look, man, everybody cares about you. So we're trying to get him to be like our spokesperson for other youth. And again, that's how we change these other youth, because this guy has a bunch of knowledge and he's credible, because the school that he was at is one of the schools that's in our system that he was kicked out of, and he had a major offense. So yeah, this is the blueprint, because out of all those kids, and I'll tell you a little bit, 2 of them, the 2 youngest, took guns to school. One of the kids who looked like a computer programmer had 2 guns. And they all got their guns from a family member or a friend. Yep.
thank you.
All right, so I got the video ready, guys. So let's do that, and then I have been answering the questions. What did I just do again? Okay, here we go. And it's 3 minutes, and then we'll be done. You guys see that screen?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let me know if you hear the music.
There's no sound, Dr. McGee.
No sound?
Mhm.
So, okay, it's playing music here when I play. I don't know how to fix that then.
Wait, you see your share screen, your green thing?
Yes.
There's a little like triangle to the right.
Does it say security?
No.
Oh, it's a triangle. Okay.
No, actually, that's not it.
Oh, share computer sound.
Yes.
Boom. Share computer sound.
And to share audio, if you just share the tab, so you click on Chrome tab and only share that tab, it should share the sound as well.
If I do what? I push share computer sound.
Okay, go ahead and press play. Let's see if that worked for you.
Okay.
You're good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I am also the national chair for violence prevention for the National Medical Association. I'm also the founder of POP. Obama decided he saw all these people being shot for mass shootings and all these things going on in the world. So he wanted everybody to learn how to stop the bleed. You find your wound, you gotta go into the wound, go into the area. You too. What are you doing? Let me see. You already stuffed it? Yup. Raise your hand if you had friends or families affected by gun violence in some kind of way. Raise your hands. I want all the cameras to get this. The question is, have any of you guys had any friends or family lost to gun violence? So about 90% of the room is raising their hands. Y'all get a DJ a hand. Give me my music. You was told up here about stopping the bleeding. You can stop the bleeding before the bleeding even starts. Just tell them and tell your friends and inside your home, keep your hands off that gun. I want you to look to the right, I want you to look to the left, and I want you to say, I want you to live. 1, 2, 3. I want you to live. In 20 years, you will be the future of people out here doing things. The most thing that I hear all the time is I have a gun for protection. If you have to have a gun for protection, you don't need to be in that atmosphere. I want everybody to live, and I want you to live prosperously.
So we have a lot of guys out here who play sports, who are leaders who big and bad and tough on the field. But you need to go in the halls and be a leader in the hallways. We need you athletes to step up. Life is not always fair. Sometimes it seems like it's better for other people than it is for ourselves. And we just don't know how to deal with that. Sometimes we as men, as athletes, we talk to be strong. We talk to hold it in. We talk you can't cry. You gotta be tough. But we're dying on the inside because nobody understands us. This is our promise. Our hearts are broken. Our spirit is not.
All right, guys. That's it for me. Thoughts, questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. McGee. Does anybody have any questions? You can either put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and we will give Dr. McGee a chance to answer anything that's on your mind. Oh, hang on.
Thank
I
you for
don't
the
know.
presentation, Dr. McGee. One of the questions I have is, what do you think your overall total number of students will be served at the end of the grant?
At the end of the grant?
Yes, sir. What's your target goal?
Well, I mean, Jay, you already know we have several different things we're doing with the grant. So you're talking
Right.
which area of the grant? Because I mean, for our conference, just in April, we probably had about 3,000 kids.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
just that
great
alone.
news.
But I have the numbers right now, but I don't have them in my head. But I mean,
Sure.
it's going to be a multitude of kids.
Yeah,
Again,
so you've already exceeded your grant. You're already exceeding the numbers that you are
well, no.
targeting.
So our deficits are in SAVE, right?
Okay.
But it's hard getting these kids to really embrace that concept. That's why I
Sure.
did it. Originally, I was going to have a big event at Hammond Civic Center, that you knew about. I said, wait a
Right.
minute, let's not do that, because let me tell you what happened. At IU, 2 weeks before last week, they had a scholarship banquet, and Westside and Lighthouse girls had a brawl. They were fighting. It was all on social media. It's embarrassing. So now schools did not want to necessarily send their kids where there's going to be a whole bunch of other schools, because everybody's in fear that it's going to be embarrassing for their school. So I said, you know what? I'm not even going to even attempt to do that. So I narrowed it down, and I asked these schools to send me leaders from your schools who are peace ambassadors. And now from those few, I'm now going to get them to now be in our SAVE club, and then we'll start with them. And we're now going to try to get them all to come out to this game. We want them all to wear orange in some kind of way, and then we're going to have them be recognized. And we're going to try to see if they can say the pledge, the Sandy Hook pledge at that event. Now imagine if we get the media out that we want, we now will have the media to now show this, and now we'll get other schools who now want to be involved. We may have teachers and principals calling us, just like the superintendent of East Chicago Central did when he had 3 kids in middle school bring guns to school in one 24-hour period. He called me and said, hey, I need y'all to be at our school. So now PATH and POP going to be in East Chicago Central. When we couldn't get in there for a year and a half, we couldn't get in there. So that's how this works. You try to advertise and make sure the media gets. It's not because I want to be on the front page, but I want them to see the work so that other people can see it, and now people can embrace it, and now youth can see the positivity going on. Because right now, all they see is violence glorified across every facet. They don't get to see the positive stuff, like kids who changed their life, who had guns but now want to be spokesperson so that other kids don't do the same thing.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
I'm glad for all the work that you're doing, and the video you were showing. It's so I guess heart fulfilling to see the kids find that someone cares for them, and they actually can change somebody else's life and the world for the better, and they have a purpose. I love it.
No
Thank you.
doubt. And you're right. Other kids, Jenny, are your biggest influencers. Like, we could talk all day, but they won't necessarily listen to us until another kid who they respect and look up to is now saying it. And then they fall in line. So that's what we got to do more of. We got to train the trainers and have these kids be the trainers, and then go and teach others. So that's what we're working on trying to do. But all this stuff takes money, and I'm gonna be honest with you. The grant doesn't give me any money, but I'm spending a lot of donated time, way beyond the time. But I mean, it's worth it for me. But it is taxing because you're constantly tired. Like even now with this game, the game and the gun turn-in wasn't even on the program for us to do. We added that on. So now if we can get over 2,500 people at this game, we're gonna save a life for Christmas if we can get people to turn their guns in or lock their guns up. Because yeah, we already just had 2 babies to get a gun that was in the couch, and they both came to my hospital. And I wasn't working, but my colleagues had to take care of the 5-year-old shot himself in the head. You know, you never can unlive that stuff, man. And for the family that it happens to, they're done. Everybody who was there are done, you know, because they're never going to be able to undo that. Yeah. And think about now, you got all these young men, 18, 19, wearing guns, getting guns, putting it in their sagging pants. They sit on a chair that falls out into the couch. They get up and go to the bathroom, and now you hear pop. And that's what we're trying to prevent. We want to say, look, man, we know y'all 18 now, but y'all, just like the last person said, your brain is not developed until you're 25 in terms of the prefrontal cortex for you to even understand decision-making processes and impulses. So now you got all these kids out here carrying guns. That's why you're seeing increases in interpersonal groups fighting and shooting each other, because they one pull out a gun, the next pull out a gun, and now innocent people being shot. So it's just, it's disheartening. Well, I mean, that's all I got. If y'all want to finish early, I'm cool with that.
We're still waiting for the actual song that we can hear.
What song?
You know,
The song you've been singing.
Don't be funny. Don't be funny. That was cute. I like that. I forgot myself.
I could give you some terrible songs, Jenny, that will be stuck in your head all day and tomorrow and the next day, if you would like.
Right, nightmares.
But I will be kind. All right. Does anybody else have any thoughts, questions?
I have a question though. This is
Yes, sir.
recorded. Can it be edited and shown back to your all your youth, or to, you know, I know it's for educators, but I think this, what we discuss and some of the stuff I showed, could be good for anybody. You can edit it, shorten it if you want, but just maybe include the most important parts and then send it back out.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of folks in the office that know how to do stuff like that, so that's something we can definitely look into.
Yeah, we love that, because like even now, I need to be able to tag the schools you guys are sending stuff out, so that when we send stuff out about our Stop the Bleed challenge, we can have a good, worthy competition, because our engagement wasn't the way we wanted it to be. So we extended it to December 18th. And we want to be able to give away this $10,000, but we got to have kids sitting in good videos, and it's so easy, and it's in their space.
I could use $10,000, Dr. McGee. Can I make a video? Can I be a kid?
10 to 24.
All right. What if I'll utilize my 2 13-year-old daughters. How about that?
Hey, sounds good to me.
All right. Well,
But you
thank
can't
you
take
very,
their money
very
though.
much, sir. What was that?
If they win, you can't take their money. It's their money.
I know. And I know exactly what they would do with it. Something to do with horses.
Oh.
I thought you were going to say a concert.
No, they're 13. I mean, maybe if it was Taylor Swift coming back.
Right, that's where I was going.
Got too much
We have
money
5
already.
million bracelets at our house right now. So. All right. Well, thank you very, very much, sir. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and sharing all of your information and wealth of knowledge. Like I said, there is a screening tonight of Screenagers Under the Influence, Addressing Vaping, Drugs, and Alcohol in the Digital Age at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. Jay put the link in there. I put the address in there. If you have any questions, please reach out to the PATH office and we can direct you into where to go and all of that. But it does start at 6 o'clock tonight and it goes until 8:30. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Wednesday and the rest of your week. And hopefully we see you all at the next lunch tables.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.